Beloved Madridistas, welcome back to the channel. Okay, let's discuss the match last night. I like doing these post-match things the day after because I like to watch the games live. I like to come back, watch them on TV a second time, and kind of discuss it with my uncle and stuff. But listen, I think there are a lot of really interesting takeaways after the match last night. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the match. Some takeaways. And we'll talk about individual players, but I'm going to give you the punchline now. Look, I know other channels like to drag things on to the end of the... I'm going to give you the punchline right now. If you want to watch the rest of the video, by all means. But look, this is a team that is very clearly in transition. Okay, we are still adapting to the loss of Toni Kroos. This is something that is really, really evident every single match. We all knew how important he was, but I don't think we saw the magnitude of how important Toni was. And we're also adapting to the arrival of this, astronomical player, Kylian Mbappe. We're very front-end loaded, and we feel the need to play with a lot of firepower up front by virtue of the players we have. So we are in a period of transition, and this will take a little while to gel. But let me also tell you this. The amount and depth of quality that this squad has is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm tempted to use the word unprecedented. It is ridiculous. When this club finally gels, I think we're in for a very, very spectacular year. But listen, let me give you my thoughts on the match, players, and some kind of important takeaways. Thanks for joining me. Let's talk about the Valladolid match. Let's get started. All right, Madridistas, welcome back. Okay, let's talk about, first of all, sort of the match yesterday. Now, look, the first half of the match was a little bit painful. I once described the word espeso in Spanish means thick. It felt very, very thick. Valladolid came out playing a very, very low block. These are games that are just generally uncomfortable for Real Madrid. I mean, there was absolutely no space. Now, the flow... we had a very hard time getting anything done in the first half because we were circulating the ball far too slowly. The passes were just way too predictable. We just kept moving the ball around the box sort of over and over. There was no element of surprise. I just found it was very comfortable for Valladolid to defend, and it was kind of very frustrating. Now, in matches like this, the antidote to a low block when you're playing at home against a modest team is the velocity of movement of the ball. You need to catch them by surprise because when the ball goes from one side to the other, you can see the whole defensive block move from side to side. You need to do that very quickly to create gaps and catch them off guard. Another thing that you need to do is, you need to finish the plays because all of this passing the ball around the box is fine, but you have to finish the play. Eventually, put a ball into the box, okay? It doesn't matter. If it has to just be an aerial cross, and, try your luck, but you have to finish the plays, and it has to conclude with something. And I think we weren't doing enough of that. We weren't putting balls into the box enough. The other thing that you can try to do is to be very quick to dribble and use very quick give and goes, very quick passes or dribbling to get through that line of defense. And the only player that was really trying it was Rodrigo, who had a couple of really, really beautiful runs. But for the most part, it was just kind of really painful to watch the ball go around the box over and over and over very slowly, and we were accomplishing absolutely nothing. Valladolid, the goalie had very, very little work in the first half. I mean, very little work. You had some long-range attempts by Rudiger and Tchouaméni, but it was just really, it wasn't going to cut it. But you did have the impression that the second we scored a goal and Valladolid had to push their lines forward, that everything would change. And I was commenting it while I was watching it, with my son and my uncle. I'm like, one goal will completely change this match because the second Valladolid had to move their lines up, the space that creates is exactly what we need because we have the best players in the world and they're fast as hell. And if you give a big patch of grass in front of these guys, they're lethal. So you could kind of feel it coming, that after the first goal, things would change. And of course, that's exactly what happened. Fede, beautiful strike with that amazing right foot. Ancelotti was screaming from the sidelines, Fede, shoot, take it directly. Great piece of advice. Fede went running to hug Ancelotti after the goal, and you could see Ancelotti in the camera. You could read his lips saying, "What did I tell you? What did I tell you?" But once that happened, everything changed because all of a sudden we had space on the counter, and that's when Real Madrid is absolutely lethal. I think the first goal is going to be very important this season. It's something we need to really keep in mind. And after that, it was just much more free-flowing. We had a lot more space, and the other two goals were just absolute works of art. I think Brahim's goal, what can you say? That was just ridiculous. That was a world-class finish, and Enric's as well, and we're going to talk about that. But listen, the kind of sort of broad takeaways from the match, look, we still have problems with what I call automatisms, right? Which is sort of reflexive play, play without even thinking, just stuff that you do instinctively, reflexively. We're still having a bit of trouble with that. When we take the ball out, I still notice a bit of confusion. Who's going to do what? Who's going to do the long distribution? Who's going? There's still. These are the moments that we really miss Tony. There's a little bit of confusion there in terms of the distribution and the outlet play. Another thing that I notice, you guys may have noticed also, is that up front, I get the feeling these players are just trying to be too nice to each other. Okay, like I understand we all want to love each other, and Vini and Kylian and Rodrigo, they all want to get along, and they're being a little bit overly generous at times in terms of, I don't know if they're maybe trying to please each other or be diplomatic or welcoming, but I think that it a little, it still feels a little bit unnatural the way they kind of pass the ball to each other up front, because I think they're trying a little bit too hard to say, oh, your ball, here, you can have it. It still feels a little bit like, we need to cut through all those formalities. We need to make things more automatic and a little bit more sensible. And I think that's just something that, with time, I think we'll get over. But listen, let's talk about individual players. To me, Fede and Militao were by far the best. I think they were by far the best, and we'll talk about them. But look, very quickly, I think Carvajal had a solid game, but nothing really noteworthy. Actually, Fran Garcia surprised me a little bit. I thought he ran a lot. He worked very, very hard, covered a huge amount of space, and I think it was one of the better games I've seen Fran Garcia play. Look, Tchouaméni, I thought was okay in defensive duties. Okay, he had a couple of very important sort of stops in transition. His distribution was okay. I would say he had a solid match, but nothing to write home about. Look, Militao for me was spectacular. We need to make a note of this because this is a player coming back from a very long injury, and we've had our eye on him in terms of where he is physically and otherwise. But I thought he was fantastic with and without the ball. I thought he was fantastic in the air. I thought he was fantastic in the ground. On a couple of situations, his recovery was incredible. He showed an enormous amount of speed. This really reminded me of the Militao of old. And I think one of the really positive takeaways from the match was that Militao looks, this was the old Militao. So I'm incredibly happy to see that. Okay, Fede, look, we need a special segment for Fede. This guy is a freak of nature, okay? His distribution was excellent. His defending was excellent. His backtracking was excellent. He contributed in attack. The man is tireless. The man has 18 lungs. I don't know what lab they created this monster in, but he is absolutely incredible. Plays every minute. Doesn't seem to get injured. I don't want to jinx anything, but doesn't seem to get injured. I thought Fede was just absolutely magnificent. Out of that played a very solid match. I think it wasn't the type of match that I think was easy for him to exploit his skill because he was up against a bus. Valladolid parked the bus in the box. There was no space. Every time he received the ball, he was looking around, but there's just nothing to do. I think he played a very solid, mature match. I'm very happy with his performance. But again, it wasn't the kind of match where you can exploit your skill because it was just so cluttered, especially in that first half. But look, I think the thorn, in terms of out of that, a very important takeaway as well. The thorn is out of the spine, okay? So many of us in the comment sections are really upset that Arda's not getting enough time, etc. He started, okay? He was given the starting role, and I think it's very important for him psychologically. It's very important for us to know that Ancelotti is willing and capable of doing this. And I think it's a very powerful message to the player, to all of us who want to see more of him. And I'm very happy that Ancelotti did this. I think it was the right call. So I'm very happy with Arda. He was very unlucky in a couple of occasions. He could have scored a couple of goals, but it was just unlucky. But he does have that killer instinct in front of goal, which is wonderful to see. Look, up front, Bini didn't have his day. Admittedly, it wasn't really his day. He was kind of a little bit unlucky in the last dribble, the last pass. But he's always electric. He's always electric. And, even in an off day, I just love Vini because his energy is just insane. He's a nightmare for opposing defenders. And you just always have a sense of danger when he touches the ball. So Vini, I would say not his day, but still, I thought it was a good performance despite, the last pass, etc. Kylian, in this occasion, I don't know if you noticed, he didn't leave the number 9 position a lot. He was in the center for most of the match. I didn't really see him gravitate to the wings very much at all. That's absolutely fine. He had a few occasions. He was a bit unlucky. He could have scored 3 or 4. I mean, he did have 2 or 3 very clear chances. But just as these didn't go in the future they will. But I can tell you, just when you see this guy play, his power, his technique, his intelligence, and his finishing, because he has a killer instinct. This is an extraordinary player, and this guy's going to score tons of goals. I'm not worried at all that he hasn't scored in the first 2 matches, because just by watching the way he plays, you know that it's a matter of time, and this guy's going to unleash. So I was happy with Kylian. Rodrigo, I think, also played a very, very good game, especially in the first half. I thought Rodrigo was the most insistent player. His speed was very destabilizing. He's never shy to take defenders on one-on-one when it looks like we're having trouble opening the can. He's always the one willing to take a risk and take defenders on. I thought he was very proactive and very good. He had that one play where he had in the second half an amazing control and just had a wide open opportunity to shoot. Tried to pass it to Vini, and it went wrong. He kind of mishit the pass. Again, trying a little bit too hard. These guys are trying a bit too hard to be polite to each other. But I thought Rodrigo played a very, very solid match, and I was, very happy with him. In terms of the substitutes, look, Modric is going to give you what he always gives you. Very, very solid, very sensible ball distribution, a lot of common sense, a lot of composure, very sensible distribution. I thought Modric came in. This is exactly how I like to use Modric. In this type of situation, where there's 30 minutes left, he's going to come in fresh with a brilliant mind, an incredible amount of experience and technique, and he's going to kind of bring a lot of stability to the midfield. I think this is exactly the way to use Modric, and I was pretty happy with his contribution. Okay, Brahim, I mean, what can you say? This is insane. The guy comes out and he was electric. I mean, absolutely electric. The goal was a combination of speed, intelligence, and world-class finishing, because it was just wonderful. He had 2 or 3 incredible runs. The goal was insane. And again, he's one of these super subs that, doesn't need to be a sub. He could play and start every match. He has the quality. I thought Brahim was absolutely amazing. And then Enric, I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, talk about a super sub. There was one match a few matches ago, and I commented on a shot that Enric, I can't remember if it was one of the summer tournament matches, but I commented that Enric had this very quick release. It was a shot that was low and went by the post, but I said, I love his quick release. We saw it again yesterday. Enric he's incredibly good in short spaces. He can find the space for a shot very quickly, and he has an absolute canyon with both legs. So this is a killer. This is a natural-born killer who is like a power-packed player that has incredible velocity in short spaces and incredible power in a shot and a killer instinct. So I thought his goal was exceptional. When you saw that play, you didn't see it coming. It's like the last thing you saw in that play, he had 4 defenders around him. The last thing you expected was a goal. But he produced one, and what a goal that was. That was absolutely incredible. So, look, all I can tell you is, look, this, and by the way, another thing we need to think about, Kylian didn't score, Vini didn't score, Rodrigo didn't score, and then the substitutes come in and they score. This could have gone the other way around as well. If you had started the match with Enric and you had started the match with Brahim, and then you decided to swap them out and bring Mbappe and Rodrigo, like, this could have happened the other way around, because the quality of the players is so good. And they're comparable. The people on the people on the bench are as good as the ones on the pitch, and they are interchangeable in many ways in terms of quality. So this could have gone the other way, and to have this level of resource in a squad is absolutely exceptional. So look, my takeaway from this match is that this is a squad that is still gelling and adapting and trying to develop reflexive play, and that's going to take a little bit of time. But the level of quality in this squad is something absolutely insane. So I'm expecting great things. I'm very happy with the performance yesterday, despite the sluggish first half. But listen, I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. I think it's going to be a pretty amazing season. But listen, those are my thoughts. I will, come back to you guys with a preview of the next match. But thank you for joining me as always. And as always, a la Madrid.